I'm Annika Carswell, and I'm here to talk about the ethics of breeding pedigree dogs, and more specifically, the dangers of this and how it negatively affects the welfare of the dogs. So, people all over the world own dogs, many of which are purebred. In the UK alone, there's approximately 5 million purebred dogs. But when people choose to own a purebred dog, how many of them think about the ethics of them? So, the majority of purebred dogs are bred for specific features or traits. In some dogs, this happens to be exaggerated anatomical features. Except, these features are often damaging to the welfare of the dog. Toy dogs, for example, they're bred for their size, but that leaves them vulnerable to stress fractures due to the fragility of their small bones. Small actions like jumping can even cause painful fractures for them. In a journal article written by Claire Palmer, she uses the case of the English Bulldog. So, say a dam, which is a female dog, and a sire, the male dog, are carefully selected for their bloodline, and the resulting puppy is healthy. However, the likelihood of this puppy developing hip dysplasia, cysts, dermatitis, and cherry eye are pretty high. Also, the likelihood of the dog suffering from breathing problems due to the shape of its head and face are also fairly high. Those snoring noises that some people might find cute are actually those breathing issues. And say this puppy was going to be used for breeding later on in life. The dog's likely going to need a C-section because the heads of purebred bulldogs are often too large to give birth naturally. So, this is where ethics arguments come into play. One could argue that if the bulldog is well taken care of throughout the life, and it's not suffering welfare problems because of how well it's looked after. The thing that makes these cases difficult, though, is that the animals still have welfare problems due to how they've been bred and the health issues that result from that, even if the life of the dog goes as well as it possibly could. Like, these health issues, they still cause the animal to suffer. It's not living the best possible life that it could without these health issues. And though pedigree dogs might be bred for their features, these features go hand in hand with welfare. They're linked together whether it was intentional or not. While many health issues in dogs are due to their specific anatomy, that might also be the result of genetics, and more specifically, inbreeding. So, inbreeding, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is the interbreeding of closely related individuals, especially to preserve and fix desirable characteristics and to eliminate unfavorable characteristics from a stock. In a scientific report by Rooney and Sargent, they cited a study done of 11,384 Portuguese water dogs in the US. All of these dogs were found to originate from only 31 founders, and 10 animals were responsible for 90% of the gene pool. And while currently there might be efforts to reduce the amount of inbreeding currently happening within pedigree dogs, the damage might have already been done. So, for example, a breeder might look at family trees to lessen the chance of inbreeding and make sure the two dogs being bred aren't closely related. But there's the chance that they might not look far enough up the family tree, and the result might still be inbreeding. Geography also plays a part. Different countries will have different populations of breeds, and therefore those different populations will have different gene pools, and some might be smaller than others. The inbreeding of dogs is responsible for many health problems that affect dogs. Due to relatively small gene pools, there's a high likelihood of inherited diseases and disorders being spread from just a few dogs. The overuse of popular champion sires is one way this happens. If the champion male happens to have certain harmful genes, then if that dog is bred with a lot of other dogs, those genes may then be passed down to the many offspring. Popular breeds like Labrador Retrievers tend to have higher levels of reported inherited diseases, which is likely due to just the large number of the dogs, as well as higher levels of veterinary monitoring and surveillance. And while mixed breed dogs are still vulnerable to inherited diseases, they're less likely to have them than pedigree dogs, just because there's a wider range of other dogs they can breed with. It's not limited to specifically that breed. So there's a much wider gene pool. So overall, The problem's not with the dogs themselves, but rather the way they are bred. If we focused more on the health of the animal instead of certain features, we could improve their quality of life. If we take these facts into consideration, we can help improve the welfare of pedigree dogs.